Should we be allowed to buy cannabis legally? A new poll by YouGov shows the majority surveyed, 57% of Victorians, approve of the idea. The study was commissioned by the Penington Institute. Joining me now is CEO John Ryan. John, thanks for coming in. So how many people were polled in this survey?
We polled more than 1,500 people across Victoria, so we've got a representative sample, and it's amazing, you know, every demographic there's more support than opposition for this sort of reform.
Were you surprised by that?
I was, because you'd think that there'd be pockets of the community that would still have the old approach, you know, that we saw last century, but actually everybody's moved on. So it is, I think, a sign of real consensus in the community that there's an opportunity for sensible reform, and it's really up to the government now, I think, to step up and take what's got a lot of community support, which is to have a much more health and safety-focused approach rather than the old criminalisation approach.
And to make it clear, what's the Penington Institute's view on cannabis?
Well, we think that it's a very prevalent drug in the community. More than 40% of Australians have used it at some stage in their life. It's not a harm-free drug, it's a harm risk drug, but the question is, how do we manage the risk? And the problem now is that we are actually making harm on top of the harm from cannabis, and that's the approach that we've taken. And the community is saying that they want to take a different approach.
So when you say harm on top of harm, you mean by being criminalised?
Yeah, correct. So there's more than... In Victoria alone, every year there's about 10,000 arrests for cannabis. So that's 9,000 of those are for personal use and possession. And so we're really arresting people. It's readily available, but we don't know what's in it, and it's lining the pockets of criminal underworld. So it's a lose-lose.
And to clarify too, you're talking now about recreational use of cannabis as opposed to medicinal cannabis.
That's right, yeah. This nothing to do with medicinal cannabis. That's a completely different track. This is the issue of recreational cannabis use, which is incredibly prevalent in the community. So, you know, if you look at young men, for example, 18 to 30-year-olds, something like 1 in 4 have used it in the last 12 months. It's very readily available in the community.
The AMA has opposed the idea of legalising cannabis across the board. They say their concern is that recreational use might lead people to self-medicate. Is that a fair proposition?
I think we've got a medical system for medical cannabis, and we need to keep encouraging people to get that medical advice. But in actual fact, no. We've seen in Canada that the sky hasn't fallen in with cannabis reform, and what the community is supporting in Victoria is very similar to what's been happening in lots of provinces across Canada, which is that you have a regulated access, you have a government control in terms of safety and regulation, a little bit like alcohol, but with stricter safety and regulation controls. Yep. That's what the community supports, and I think the AMA will actually change its position over time.
So just to clarify, you're not talking about people being able to grow whatever they like in their backyard. You want it sold and regulated in a similar way to alcohol.
Yeah, so most people don't brew their own alcohol, etc. So we need to have a regulated commercial system to provide access to people, but with lots of safety controls, so we know what's in the product, not allowing the kind of rampant behaviour that goes on with the criminal market now. So actually more control through a regulated system.
Do you think we'll ever see it legalised?
I do, actually. I think it's really inevitable. I think overseas it's happening in lots of jurisdictions. Nearly half, or more than half, of the American population in the US has regulated adult access. And Canada, the entire country. And Canada and Australia are very similar. So I think it will change. And I think the sentiment in the community is that we expect our political leaders to step up and make sensible reforms.
Certainly a good topic for discussion. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
John Ryan from the Penington Institute.